Hello everyone, here for a new video. Now this one's going to be a bit different because, as you can see in some of my previous ones, not really great viewing numbers, so I'm going to try lots of different angles to try and push these videos as far as possible. So instead of maybe reviewing or just chatting about film or TV, I thought I'd give you a bit of a personal story, a bit of a hopefully comical one, be a bit entertaining, give you a smile on your day, definitely laughing at my misfortunes. And it's going to be about kind of growing up in school life, and I'm hoping if some other people see this they can kind of connect with it, because I grew up in a private school. Now, just in case there's anyone viewing anywhere else, you know, I don't know, or New Zealand or something, I don't know. Basically in the UK, a private school is one that you pay for, so your parents pay a pretty large sum of money per term. You have 3 terms in a schooling year for you to go off to go to school, and it's supposedly supposed to be kind of the better schooling experience. We'll get into that. A state school is one that's funded by the government, so you don't pay to send your kids there. Now that we've established that. So for anyone else out of the UK, the stereotypes might be, I'm talking about the private school is like going to Hogwarts and Harry Potter, and then you've got the state school, which is Oliver Twist. It's not really like that, it's more like one lot snorts cocaine and the other smokes weed, but we'll delve into that. Let's get started. So, I want to say that my parents worked very hard to get me into a private school. They paid a lot of money, and I have grown up and had a very privileged upbringing. I'm completely aware of that. I'm very grateful for it. But compared to some of these other kids, because my parents were slightly, you know, having to watch their money by sending me here, it was nothing compared to the wealth that some of these kids had. Now, I'm not going to name the school I went to, but just to put it into context, kind of it was suit, shirt, blazer. It was very posh. It was kind of nice out in the countryside, nice area. The one thing that these private schools have going for them is the facilities are really good, especially for sports. They've got a lot of money, can do a lot with it. But that's about as far as my compliments are going to go for private schools. Yeah, it's going to be one of those types of videos. So something that I learned very early on, and I was a kid when I went there. I think I was something like 7, 6, like when I joined, and I was in private education until I was 12 years old. And something I learned very early on, you're either very smart, very sporty, or your parents are very rich, or the teachers do not give a fuck about you. So I noticed that myself and a couple of others, we weren't particularly quiet kids, but we weren't overtly loud. We weren't the best at sport, wasn't the smartest. Doesn't mean that we were bad in either of those fields, and you know, our parents weren't millionaires. You tend to not really get much any kind of focus or attention. You're kind of left to your own devices almost, and even when you get your grades, like, they don't really care. There's just certain people that they watch to make sure that those are the ones that they give their focus on, those are the ones that they care about. You'd have some of the school bullies would be in like the sports team, so the teachers would literally let them get away with anything just because they were very good. It was all about outward appearance. That is what it was about, and something that sums this up perfectly is art class. We all have art class, right? No matter what school you go to, really. That's something that you're gonna have at some point in your life. Now, I remember you'd get given loads of projects over the course of the year in art, or also in design and technology, or DT as some people call it, where you're given kind of assignments to do. Maybe you do a painting, or maybe create like a collage. And I remember one example in particular is we had to create this like big long scrapbook. I think it was about like what we'd done over the summer. Now I did mine myself. I printed off pictures, I stuck them on coloured pages, I did drawings, I explained what I did in my summer. I thought it was pretty good. And then you see these kids coming in with like these wooden carved framed books that had these like bespoke drawings in. Did the kids design them? Did they fuck? In fact, did the parents design them? Did they fuck? They probably had a fucking carpenter come in and construct this scrapbook for them in this gorgeous, looks like something out of Lord of the Rings, some ancient text that they were opening, and had like the secrets of life inside. And they would get all of this praise, and they come to mine, and the art teacher pretty much was like, could have put more effort in, that's a bit shit, isn't it? And there's me like 8 years old like,
Sorry, I don't know how to carve the marble of the Gaudi Cathedral. My bad.
Something else that stuck out, kind of following on from that, about it all being outward appearance. I'm not going to name any names without getting in trouble, but a certain footballer sent his kids to this school. At the time, very well-known footballer. And his daughter would often be, in fact every time, would be the lead in the school play. Now, I love theatre, you could probably tell. And I don't want to be petty, but I mean, it wasn't great. It wasn't great to begin with, and it just kind of showed there were the particular people where the parents would pay kind of donations to the school, and their kids would end up being at the front of everything. They'd be the main roles, they'd be the ones in the sports teams, they'd be doing this and that, and God, I'm so bitter. You can tell I'm so fucking bitter. Finally, on the point of school plays, I will say that I remember in one of them that they did a sketch on Jim Will Fix It. One of the kids played Jimmy Savile. Not aged well. And in the summer, they had this thing kind of, what was called like a sports camp or something, you know, give your parents a break over the summer. Because, of course, even though you're sending your kids, you're spending a lot of money to send them to these schools, the terms are shorter. You have a longer summer holidays, which as a kid, you're like, great. But as an adult, you look at it and you think, hang on, how does that make sense when you're paying this much, kind of many thousands per term? But I remember that they would do kind of an award at the end of each day, and for whatever reason, my parents sent me for like 2 weeks for one summer. I don't know if I was particularly being an extra little shit that year, but I went for 2 weeks solid, and right at the end I got this award, and I think it was more like a pity award, but they could have worded it in like a nice way. No, they went, Daniel, he's an average sportsman, he's about an average at school, but we thought he's been here a lot, so we better give him this award. And I'm there like, oh, great. Cheers, guys. That is. You love me. You really love me. I've realised I've not really spoken about the actual students themselves. Oh my God. Imagine Draco Malfoy and just having multiple versions of Draco Malfoy everywhere, all over the school. You know the type I'm talking about. FDS were fucking gays, you know. Ruining our country. It was all about who had what, and it very much continued like that, because at the end of the day I can understand a lot of the students being little prats, but it was the teachers. I mean, one of the teachers used to pick on me and make me do detention, giving out the lost property and not have your break time, because he didn't want to do it. And it was stuff like that. In food tech, I got told my cheesecake looked like diarrhea. So yeah, bit of a weird experience. I'll probably throw some more stuff in the later bit, because when I hit 12 years old, my life changed, because I was taken out of private school and moved into a state school. Now, even though you might hear me moan about a couple of things, it was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. It was such a better experience, because it felt so much more just, I got to meet some real people. That being said, I did put myself in a bit of a tricky situation going in there, and I didn't realise it. In some ways, being in that private school was horrendous, but it does kind of protect you from a lot of the outside world and kind of the realities of life. So when I showed up in my uniform, because you do like an onset day where you go in, you have a look, you see if you like the school sort of thing, but obviously you've got to wear your uniform, but you've got to wear the uniform from the school you're at, not the one you're going to. So this school was just like polo shirts and trousers, you know, it was just all like these baggy jumpers, really nice and comfy. There's me showing up. You know, they've all got their rucksacks on. I have what looks like a laptop bag or a briefcase. You know, in between us, yeah. Tie, shirt, blazer, like shiny black shoes. Oh my God. It was like a lot of these kids could see the target on my forehead. But it did make me suddenly grow up. I will say that, and I'm very grateful for that, because I wouldn't have wanted to go on with that skewed vision of life that you get in these private schools. And I'm not saying you get it in all of them, but you know where I'm coming from. So there's me turning up in my suit, and all the other kids are there in their Air Maxes and, you know, their drawstring bags and smacking a football around the playground. Yeah, it was a bit of a different environment. And one thing I remember distinctly is a lot of people a lot of these kids in some ways seemed a lot more mature than the ones in private school, and then in other ways not so much. So I know that a lot of the topics people were talking about, things like, you know, drugs or sex or anything kind of really in that kind of bracket, was far more kind of spoken about or even known about at this new state school. And it kind of went from rugby to football. And I remember in one in particular, I was on the field playing football with some of these other students, and it was enjoyable, having a good time. And I remember saying, oh, this is really fun, do you want to this weekend go play some football down at the leisure centre? Now, just for context, the building is literally called the leisure centre. I don't know why. I was berated for calling it leisure centre and not the Sporting. You know, let's go down the fucking Sporting, go kick the ball around, and then we'll go smoke some fags, you know. Whereas there's me going, hey, do you want to go down to the leisure centre? And in fact, both of those are extremes, and there's kind of like a middle ground. But oh my god, so I had to watch what I was saying. I had to make sure, almost kind of put on a voice to try and fit in with the rest of these kids. But yeah, like I said, extremely grateful that I changed over, because I don't like the environment of a private school. I think a lot of it is extremely elitist and toxic, and I much preferred going to this day school, taking a bit of a verbal beating, but having a more real view of the world. Yeah. So hopefully some of you, if you've been to private schools or state schools, you've jumped between the two different types, kind of you've gone from one to the other. If any of you see this video, you can kind of resonate with it a bit, or even if you disagree, let me know. I want to read in the comments. Let's keep it all friendly though. But yeah, this has been Dan. Catch you in a bit.